A cancer patient begged for help in front of everyone, but her coach, who is supposed to be responsible for her, chose football over her life. At Riverside High, bullying wasn't whispered in hallways, it was performed like sport. And when the victim was Zarabelle, a girl fighting cancer with every breath, it became open season. Mason Keegan and his crew of football players turned cruelty into entertainment, while cheerleaders filmed it for likes. And the worst part? Coach Talbot, the man trusted to protect, stood by and covered it all up. But they didn't know who they were really up against. Zara's father, Marcus Bell, wasn't just a parent. He was a Navy SEAL who'd spent his life dismantling threats bigger than high school bullies. When he saw what happened to his daughter, he didn't raise his voice. He raised an army. Veterans, leaders, fighters who knew how to turn silence into power. What started in a breezeway would end with a wall of warriors standing in formation, staring down a corrupt system. This story isn't just about bullying. It's about betrayal, cover-ups, and what happens when the wrong people underestimate the quiet man in the corner. The fallout ripped through classrooms, locker rooms, and board meetings, forcing an entire community to face one brutal truth. When dignity is denied, war is inevitable. And before this ends, reputations will crumble, a coach will be exposed, and a single father's patience will shatter. Stay with me, because this story doesn't slow down, it only escalates. You don't want to miss the explosion that comes when silence finally breaks. Before we begin, make sure you're subscribed, drop a comment with your city or country, and tell me, what would you do if it was your child gasping for breath while a coach looked away? The final bell at Riverside High didn't sound like freedom for Zarabelle. It sounded like a countdown. She adjusted her nasal cannula the way the nurses taught her. 2 fingers under the tubing, gentle angle, no tug, then stepped into the crush of students flooding the breezeway. The air smelled like hot concrete and cafeteria fries. Her scalp, still tender from chemo, prickled under the afternoon sun. She focused on the door. 10 steps. 9. Look who decided to breathe our air. Mason Keegan peeled off the wall in a crimson Letterman jacket, 2 linemen fanning out behind him. Lana Briggs lifted her phone with a smile designed for views, not people. Laughter rose like a tide. Zara kept her eyes forward. You learn the rules fast when your body betrays you. Don't flinch, don't feed them, don't give them the oxygen they want. Science class, Mason announced. Hypothesis, remove life support, alien stops pretending. His hand moved. Too quick. 2 fingers hooked the clear tube and yanked. Pain split her nostrils. The world shrank to a hard, bright ring of sound. She tasted copper. The cannula snapped away, dropped, and skated in a small arc through a puddle from someone's water bottle. Keep recording, Lana squealed. This is going viral. Back off, Mason. DJ Carter shoved through, eyes blazing. He got 2 steps before a lineman bounced him into the lockers with a metallic crash. The crowd oofed as one organism. Phones lifted higher. A circle tightened. Coach Talbot stood by the gym doors. Clipboard. Whistle. Authority. His eyes met Zara's, then slid away to a practiced indifference. He turned a page as if nothing existed outside the neat columns of his roster. Cold water hit her face. Mason misted her with a squeeze bottle like she was a potted plant. Maybe it helps bald things grow. Bald Barbie. Bald Barbie. Lana started the chant. A few dozen voices joined, the sound ricocheting off beige concrete until it was everywhere and nowhere, a wall of noise with teeth. Zara's lungs tightened into fists. Her brain said stay calm, but panic had already picked a fight. She blinked through stinging drops, vision peppered with black confetti at the edges. Do not give them your breath. Not your breath. Say something, Mason teased, crowd-pleaser grin sharpened to a point. No? Boring. The lineman dumped DJ. His shoulder hit the floor. Someone laughed like a hiccup, like this was a skit. The players got what they came for. They swaggered out slow, basking in the tailwind of their theater, leaving her with a wet shirt, a stinging nose, and a circle of eyes pretending they hadn't watched. DJ knelt, hands shaking. I'm sorry. I tried. It's okay, she whispered, though nothing about this was okay. She threaded trembling fingers, Found the tube, reattached with the stubborn dignity of someone who refuses to be the last joke in the room. No one helped. Except the air. It returned like a friend who never stopped loving her. She walked home counting sidewalk cracks like sheep, the oxygen hiss a quiet metronome. Leaves scratched the curb. A dog barked. She held herself together with the same fragile thread that kept the cannula in place. The door opened before she knocked. Marcus Bell filled the frame, tall, still, unreadable. He clocked everything in a single sweep: wet shirt, red nose, crooked tube. Silence is a language. He said, I saw. I understood. I will act. Dinner was mashed potatoes cooling on a plate and Janelle's gentle hand over Zara's. One bite, her mother said. Keep your strength for tomorrow's treatment. Marcus hadn't touched his food. His phone buzzed. He read, jaw hardening the way granite decides to be a mountain. Dad, don't, Zara started. He pressed play anyway. The kitchen filled with Lana's voice and cheap laughter, with the locker crash, with the misting bottle and the chant and the gasp the phone barely caught, but Marcus heard like a siren. He watched once. Twice. A third time. Each pass the same, calm, contained, clinical, as if mentally tagging timestamps on a map before a mission. He set the phone down with care, the way explosives texts set down what could kill them. Names, he said, pen already in hand. His block letters landed like small verdicts. Mason Keegan. Lana Briggs. Tyler Reynolds. Jake Morris. Coach Talbot, present, non-intervening. He didn't look up. Time, 3:42 p.m. Breezeway, East Side. Witness phones, visible from 3 angles. Marcus, Janelle warned. We go through proper channels. We are, he said, voice level. I'm gathering evidence. They're kids. They interfered with medical equipment. His eyes finally found Zara's. Softer, but steel under the velvet. They stepped on your air. Zara slid her plate away. Can I be excused? He nodded, gentling. We're not letting this continue. I know. Her mouth twitched. You're already planning a crazy seal thing. Nothing crazy, he murmured. Just precise. That night, sleep tasted like metal. Zara read the same paragraph 16 times without absorbing a word. A knock brushed her door. Marcus stepped in like a question he already knew the answer to. What happened today? He said, sitting on the bed's edge. What's been happening? It stops now. I don't want it worse, she whispered into the pillow. She hated the softness in her voice. He adjusted the tubing with the gentlest thumbs. We do this my way. Quiet, strategic, precise. He taught her box breathing under the dim lamp, tracing invisible squares in the air. In for 4. Hold for 4. Out for 4. Hold for 4. Her body obeyed the counts before her anxiety remembered how. Those bullies can pull at your tube, he said, counting steady. They don't get to take your breath. That belongs to you. When she finally drifted off, her chest rose in an even pattern. Marcus watched and let an old muscle unclench. He could live his whole life on 4 counts if it kept her breathing. Then his phone buzzed. DJ, sent you the full clip plus names. Coach looked away. A second message from an unknown number. Santos, English. I've seen too much. Call me. Marcus stood, a soldier re-inhabiting the shape of himself. In the silent kitchen, he opened a manila folder and built a case the way other men build cabinets. Measure twice, cut once. He printed stills. He wrote margins. He mapped timelines. He underlined policy phrases like duty of care and medical accommodation. He slept 3 hours, the way people do when rest is just refueling. Morning Light found a different breezeway. The gossip had a new headline, Dad's a Navy SEAL, and that added a sheen of cautious distance around Zara. No bullying poster ever managed. DJ walked at her side like a small storm front. Her locker door squealed open. 12 oxygen masks poured out and clattered across tile, smeared in thick black paint like vandalized faces. They piled at her feet, a mountain of mockery. A paper fluttered last, landing flat on the heap. No air for you. The hallway swallowed its own sound. Then someone giggled. Lannis. Of course. Art project. she sang from down the hall, ponytail perfect. "We thought you needed spares." DJ lunged toward the pile, hands frantic to hide the evidence. Zara's hands shook so hard she could barely keep the cannula in place. The oxygen suddenly felt heavier, as if shame had mass. Footsteps. Mason rounded the corner with that smirk he wore like a badge he hadn't earned. "Your sealed daddy gonna stare me into detention again?" The lights felt too bright. The edges of everything too sharp. She tasted the metallic ghost of yesterday's blood. Something in her, something beyond fear and past humiliation, cracked clean. Enough. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The corridor heard it. Phones lowered. Lana's smile twitched. Mason's swagger stumbled. Zara lifted the cannula from her face and let it hang. A collective inhale rippled down the hall. She took one slow breath without it, face steady, voice steady. "You want this?" She held the tube up with a trembling grip. "Is this the best you can do? Pick on a girl who's already fighting a war you're too small to understand." Mason's mouth opened, then forgot the script. "You think I'm ashamed?" She touched her scalp. "Chemo already took my hair. Cancer tries to take my breath every day. But you gave your humanity away for a laugh." DJ whispered, panicked. "Z, your oxygen?" She reattached it herself. Deliberate. Precise. The sound of the little hiss returned like a drumbeat beneath her words. "My dad says bullies are cowards in costume," she said, eyes locking onto Mason's until he looked away first. "Prove me wrong." A door cracked somewhere. Coach Talbot stood half in shadow, half in sunlight, watching like a man caught in his own reflection. His jaw worked. His hands didn't. The principal's voice crackled over the P. "Zara Bell, DJ Carter, please report to the office." Lana's smile came back cheap and bright. "Ooh, meeting time." DJ squeezed Zara's shoulder. "We got this." They didn't speak on the walk. They didn't need to. The paper with "No air for you" went into DJ's pocket like a piece of shrapnel recovered from a blast. Principal Harris's office was smaller with people in it. Harris behind the desk, tie too tight. Officer Randall leaning on a file cabinet that didn't belong to him. Coach Talbot in the corner, posture claiming innocence by proximity. Two empty chairs facing power. "Zara," Harris began, throat clearing twice. "We take all allegations." The door opened without a knock. Marcus Bell stepped in with a manila folder under his arm and quiet filling the room the way a tide fills a bay. He set the folder down like a gavel. "Not allegations," he said, voice even. "Evidence." He fanned the case across the desk, timestamps, screenshots, policy printouts, medical notes signed in blue ink, still frames where hands gripped tubes and water-sprayed faces. He placed the black-painted masks list on top, a single line under the words harassment of medical devices, immediate expulsion from the student code. Officer Randall opened his mouth. Marcus didn't look at him. "Save it." Harris's eyes moved the way a man reads his own indictment. Talbot's fingers tightened around his whistle until the cord creaked. "Here's how this works," Marcus said, still calm, still surgical. "You enforce your policies, you protect disabled students, and you report assault to law enforcement. Today." Harris swallowed. "Mr. Bell will need time to—" "You had time yesterday," Marcus said. "You spent it looking away." Silence sat down and made itself comfortable. Harris reached for the intercom. "Please, Paige." The office phone rang first. He picked up, listened, face blanching shade by shade. He covered the receiver. It's the board chair. "She wants to discuss complaints about Mr. Bell's presence on campus." Lana's mother's voice without her face. "Evelyn Keegan." "Of course." Marcus's gaze didn't shift. "There will be more calls," he said softly, as if narrating the weather. "There's always more when people confuse power with permission." He collected his papers, stacked them square, and slid them back into the folder. Before he turned to leave, he laid one sheet on Harris's blotter, formal notice of potential legal action, failure to provide safe learning environment / interference with medical accommodation, and tapped the date line. 48 hours, he said. Then I escalate. He walked out without a backward glance. The room exhaled like it had been held underwater. Harris stared at the notice like it might bite. Talbot finally spoke. "We can't, he can't." Zara stood. Her knees wobbled but held. "Coach," she said, and he looked at her like the word itself had weight. "Yesterday I couldn't breathe. You were there." He looked at the floor. "You don't understand game week pressure." "I understand oxygen," she said. "And I understand silence." DJ opened the door. The hallway outside felt colder. Bigger. The school looked the same and entirely different at once, the way a street does after sirens. They took 3 steps before Officer Randall's voice rolled after them, too casual. "Don't get comfortable, Belle." "Which one?" DJ shot back without turning. "The one who fights cancer or the one who fights corruption?" The bell screamed change of period. Doors spat students. The current caught them and carried them down the hall. Zara adjusted her cannula. "In for 4. Hold for 4. Out for 4. Hold for 4. The box was still there. The air still hers. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Santos. I have documentation they lost. Meet me after last bell. Bring your dad." Zara showed DJ. He blew out a breath. Game on. Except the game was already in motion. Because when they turned the corner toward the stairs, they saw it. A PTA flyer pinned above a table of spirit where Evelyn Keegan's name front and center, emergency meeting, safety concerns on campus. And as Zara read the fine print, a chill traced the line of her oxygen tube. They weren't just coming for the bullies. They were coming for her father. But before anyone realized it, the next attack wouldn't happen in a hallway. It would be launched in a boardroom. And it begins with one name that lit the match, Mason Keegan. The flyer had said, emergency PDA, safety concerns, but for Zara Bell and her father, Marcus, it felt more like a trap. Every parent who had come to cheer on football victories was now here, sipping coffee and judging a man who refused to stand by while his daughter's life was toyed with. Evelyn Keegan entered the room like a queen in her court, pearls gleaming under the harsh fluorescent lights. Her smile was sharp, polished, and it cut through the nervous murmurs of parents and teachers alike. Coach Talbot lingered near the wall, hands folded, a silent observer to the spectacle he helped create. Principal Harris hovered uncertainly at the edge of the podium, clearly relieved someone else had chosen to control this storm. Marcus Bell entered quietly, carrying a single folder under his arm. He didn't need to raise his voice, fill the room with movement, or demand attention. His presence alone commanded it. He scanned the room, taking in the anxious parents, the smug smiles of a few alumni, and Mason Keegan sitting in the back, chin low, eyes darting to his mother for reassurance. Marcus's gaze finally rested on Zara, who stood beside her mother, her tiny frame straight, her breath steady through the familiar rhythm of the box she had practiced. "Parents," Evelyn began, her voice sweet and deliberate, "recent events have caused instability on our campus. A former military operative has been observed performing what witnesses describe as surveillance. Students are frightened." Her words landed, heavy, but wrong. Every head turned in the room, some afraid, some skeptical, some quietly angry. Marcus stood still, letting the tension build. He didn't need to speak. Miss Santos, a small, determined figure in the back, slipped forward, holding a plain folder close to her chest. Her eyes met Marcus's for a brief moment, and he nodded once. "Go." A father spoke up, voice quivering. "My son said he saw Mr. Bell in the parking lot. He said he felt threatened." Marcus's eyes were calm. "Your son pushed another student into a locker until he cried this week," Miss Santos interrupted. The room shifted uncomfortably. "I have the nurse's notes. And I have security footage showing Coach Talbot saw it happen and did nothing." Coach Talbot stiffened. "That's not true," he said, voice low, almost defensive. "It is," Miss Santos replied, even and unwavering. "And here is the proof." She set the folder on a nearby table, sliding it toward the front row, open for anyone brave enough to see. Photographs, timestamps, and medical reports lined the pages like battlefield intelligence. Every alteration, every cover-up meticulously documented. Evelyn leaned forward, voice sweetened with authority. "Mrs. Santos, as we all know, Privacy laws prevent the discussion of student records. Miss Santos cut her off. Files don't lie. People do. The words hit like a thunderclap. Parents looked at each other, some pale, some silent, realizing the extent of what had been hidden. Even Harris seemed to shrink in his own chair. Evelyn, sensing her grip slipping, raised her voice. We are here to discuss safety. This man's presence, his military tactics, they are intimidating. Children feel unsafe. Marcus finally spoke. The room leaned in without realizing it. I have never stalked a child. I have stood in open spaces, watched, recorded, because last week, my daughter's oxygen was pulled from her face, while adults turned away. You may think that fear is hers alone, but it is yours too now. A hush fell. Heads turned. Some parents shifted uneasily. Even Talbot's posture stiffened. His eyes darted toward Mason, who shrank under the weight of the unspoken truth. Evelyn moved to initiate a vote. All in favor of issuing a restraining order for Mr. Bell to protect our campus? Hands went up quickly, almost reflexively. Enough to pass. Marcus didn't object. He didn't flinch. He simply measured every face in the room, every gesture, every glance. Evelyn exhaled, triumphant, already envisioning headlines. Thank you, parents. Riverside is safe again. But safety had nothing to do with it. That evening, Officer Randall's knock carried a smug rhythm. He handed over a temporary restraining order. Marcus's jaw tightened as he read it, each word scraping against the raw anger he had felt since the breezeway. Janelle stepped in, placing herself protectively between the officer and the living room. Please don't let them intimidate you, she whispered. Zara watched, small, fragile but unwavering. Marcus handed the papers back. On what grounds? Intimidation of minors, Randall replied, too pleased with the phrasing. From whom? Marcus asked. Concerned parents, the officer said, tone artificially sweet. Marcus's eyes swept across Zara, who was touching the cannula, steadying herself. And the boy who pulled it from her nose? Randall's smirk faltered. That's a school matter. No, Janelle interjected, voice sharp. It's assault. Evelyn arrived on cue, a swirl of perfume and pearls, holding the authority of a woman accustomed to bending rules to her will. Just here to ensure all parties understand the necessity of this order, she said. You're here to protect your image, Marcus corrected quietly. His voice was calm but cold. Not your son. Zara's eyes flitted between them, heart racing, yet her breathing remained steady, for counts in, for counts hold, for counts out, for counts hold. The night stretched on. Marcus organized every piece of evidence, mapping incidents, emails, altered records. He built timelines, traced financial transfers for booster club retreats, and laid it all out like a war room. Each page, each photo, each note carried the weight of justice waiting to strike. By midnight, Marcus hadn't slept. Janelle sat nearby, hands folded, eyes full of worry. Zara had finally dozed off, body quiet but mind alert to the tension that lingered in every corner of the house. In the hallway, Marcus's phone buzzed once more, Miss Santos, bringing copies of the original files before they could disappear into bureaucracy. He scanned them quickly. Alterations, deletions, manipulations, proof of a system protecting the guilty while punishing the innocent. Morning came with fog and the smell of fresh-cut grass. Practice had started and Mason's throws were off, his eyes flitting to the parking lot, to the corners of the field. And then, motorcycles broke the quiet like an approaching tide, followed by sedans, and finally, a line of men and women in uniform and civilian clothes, veterans, clergy, community leaders, all aligned along the sidewalk. They weren't here to shout. They weren't here to protest. They were here to witness. Their presence alone weighed heavily on Mason, his team, and anyone who thought that silence would protect wrongdoing. Zara stepped from Janelle's car, DJ beside her. She touched her cannula. 4 counts in. 4 counts hold. 4 counts out. 4 counts hold. Her breath was steady, and for the first time in days, she felt the space around her belonged to her. Evelyn arrived moments later, fury in pearls and heels, but her calculated control wavered when she saw the silent line of veterans. Officer Randall hovered uselessly, caught between law and the undeniable truth of Marcus Bell's quiet authority. Marcus raised his voice across the field just enough for the players to hear. "Coach Talbot, remember yesterday?" The whistle fell from Talbot's hand. Mason planted his feet, jaw tight, face pale. The game, the arrogance, the mockery, all crumbled under the weight of witnessing truth. But the real danger hadn't yet hit the field. Underneath the bleachers, shadows moved. Phones recorded. Plans hatched. And Marcus Bell knew the next confrontation would be far from public. A trap waiting to test courage and strategy in ways no hallway, no boardroom, and no sidewalk had yet demanded. The afternoon sun cast long stripes across Riverside High's bleachers, but underneath them, shadows clung like predators to prey. Zara moved carefully, DJ beside her, her fingers lightly brushing the metal of her cannula. Every step was measured, every breath deliberate. 4 counts in, 4 counts hold. 4 counts out, 4 counts hold. Her father's teachings weren't just about survival, they were about commanding presence, even in fear. The crowd above cheered, oblivious to the trap forming below. Mason Keegan and 2 of his teammates had slipped away from the sidelines, their Letterman jackets red against the dull concrete of the underbleacher corridor. Smirks twisted their faces, but their confidence was brittle. Mason had orchestrated this moment meticulously. He believed Zara would stumble, panic, falter, and all cameras would catch her weakness. Zara slowed at the chain-link fence, pressing her back against cold metal, heart-hammering but mind-focused. DJ raised a hand. "You sure about this?" She nodded. "We do it like Dad taught me. Precision come." Eyes wide open. As they descended into the shadowed corridor, the laughter above faded. Here, it was just them, the bullies and the stage they had chosen to dominate. Mason stepped forward, hands twitching near her oxygen tube. "Bet you didn't think I'd find a moment alone," he hissed. His friends flanked him, ready to record, to mock, to escalate. Zara's chest tightened. The air was thick with the smell of sweat, fear, and concrete. But she forced herself to breathe, for counts in, hold, out, hold. She lifted her chin. "If you touch this," she said, gesturing to her cannula, "you'll regret it." The smirk faltered on Mason's face. He underestimated one thing, a girl who had learned fear and still chose courage. His hand shot out. Zara jerked the tube away, chest burning as oxygen flowed freely again, her fingers steady. DJ grabbed her backpack, sliding it behind her like a shield. The first blows weren't physical, they were words. "Look at you, fake sick girl," Mason spat. "Everyone's gonna see you struggle." Zara's eyes flashed. Every humiliation, every shove, every cruel whisper that had haunted her since returning to school, she let it feed her anger, not despair. "You're pathetic," she said, voice clear in the corridor. "This is what makes you brave? Picking on someone weaker? You're nothing." Laughter erupted, but it was cut short by the echoing of heavy footsteps above. Mason looked up, irritation cracking into fear. "I see you," a voice said. Calm, measured, but carrying the weight of experience. Marcus Bell stepped onto the upper platform, jacket unbuttoned, stance casual but authoritative. He wasn't here to fight, he was here to witness, document, and ensure justice. Mason froze. His friends stiffened. Every ounce of swagger drained. Marcus didn't yell. He didn't gesture wildly. He simply watched. "You think you can humiliate my daughter," Marcus said, voice low but clear. "And nothing happens? You think your friends will shield you? Think again." Above them, the veterans and community leaders Marcus had called informed a human perimeter along the sidelines. Uniforms, service pins, and solemn eyes created a wall impossible to ignore. Zara felt her chest rise, the rhythm of the box breathing steadying her nerves. Her father was there, every breath a promise. She would not be alone. Mason stepped forward, hand twitching again. But Marcus didn't move. The threat wasn't in his body, it was in his presence, in the certainty that every action was being watched, recorded, and catalogued. "Dad's got eyes everywhere," Zara whispered, her voice a thread of steel. She lifted the cannula slightly, letting Mason see that her lifeline was hers to control. "Try it, and you'll learn how serious we are." Mason glanced toward the bleachers. Students were filming, some whispering, some silently supporting. The moment stretched. A second too long. The corridor felt tighter, the air heavier, every footstep amplified. Then it happened. One of Mason's teammates stepped too close to DJ, misjudging the space. DJ grabbed his arm, twisting, and the other boy stumbled, catching the wall. The corridor erupted into chaos, but Zara didn't move. Her focus remained. Every distraction, every surge of adrenaline, was a test she had already passed. Marcus descended a step onto the metal platform, voice carrying across the concrete like sunlight cutting through fog. "This ends now. Every action you take is documented. Every plan you've made will be exposed. This isn't just about today, it's about who you are and who you want to be." Mason's smirk crumbled completely. He backed into the wall, hands raised instinctively, eyes darting, searching for an escape route that didn't exist. Then Lana Briggs, the cheerleader who had filmed Zara before, stepped into the corridor, phone raised, evidence in hand. "This is all being live-streamed," she said, voice shaking slightly. "You can't stop it now." Mason's jaw tightened. He tried to argue. He tried to command. But the corridor had shifted. The power had moved. And Zara? She stood tall, chest heaving but unbroken, her cannula gleaming in the dim light like a badge of survival. Marcus extended a hand. Not to strike. Not to touch. But to signal, to guide. DJ and Zara moved back toward the open exit, carrying the quiet authority of people who had survived what others could not imagine. From the bleachers, the line of veterans shifted, silently echoing the discipline and unity Marcus had instilled. It wasn't intimidation. It was witnessing truth in real time. Mason whispered to his friends. "What the?" Zara's eyes met his. Calm, piercing, unflinching. "Next time you think you can take my air, remember this moment. You didn't win. You never will." As they emerged into the sunlight, the corridor behind them seemed smaller, less threatening. But Zara knew the system. School administrators, corrupted oversight, parents with blind loyalty, would continue to challenge them. Marcus didn't speak as he followed. His mind catalogued, calculated, and prepared. This battle wasn't over. Not until the truth had been fully exposed, and the bullies and their enablers understood the consequences of underestimating a father's resolve. And somewhere, in the shadows of the bleachers, new threats stirred. Phones continued to record, students whispered, and the balance of power remained delicate. But for now, Zara had survived. And her survival carried the weight of a message. Courage, precision, and resilience could rewrite even the darkest plans. The phone buzzed again. Another report of deleted records, altered disciplinary files, and financial trails. Marcus read, his jaw tightening. Every layer of corruption was emerging, piece by piece, and he would expose them all. But the real chaos, the reckoning that would shake the school to its core, was yet to come. The autumn air smelled of smoke and cut grass as Riverside High's gymnasium filled with the tension of expectation. Students shuffled into seats, teachers straightened papers, and local news cameras adjusted their lenses, capturing the weight of what was about to unfold. Zara stood in the aisle, her cannula glinting in the sunlight streaming through the windows. DJ flanked her side, protective and vigilant, eyes scanning the crowd. For months, fear had dictated every step of her life at school. Today, that fear would finally meet accountability. Marcus Bell remained at the back, a calm sentinel among the 3 rows of veterans seated in silent formation. Each uniform, each pin, each disciplined posture was a reminder. The world had eyes, even when bureaucracy and cowardice failed. He had orchestrated this moment with surgical precision, not out of vengeance, but to ensure the truth could not be ignored. Principal Harris cleared his throat, trying to project authority over a room already crackling with anticipation. "Welcome, students, parents, and staff. Today's assembly is called to address the recent incidents that have impacted our school community." His voice faltered slightly as his eyes caught the first row of veterans staring unwaveringly. Evelyn Keegan sat near the back, her pearl necklace glinting like a crown of defensiveness. Mason fidgeted beside her, the cocky composure that had ruled hallways and locker rooms for months completely gone. His hands rested uneasily on his knees. The smirk that had once emboldened him was gone, replaced with guilt too heavy to hide. Miss Santos stepped forward, her folder of evidence in hand. I will present the documented cases of bullying, harassment, and interference with a student's medical equipment. All records were altered in the past year to hide misconduct. Every instance has been verified with timestamps, witness statements, and photographic evidence. She handed copies to the administration and a few parents in the front rows. The weight of proof was tangible. The room felt smaller, air heavier. Mason shifted. This isn't my fault, he stammered. His voice cracked under the collective gaze of peers, teachers, and veterans alike. It is your fault, Marcus said from the back, voice steady, carrying like steel through the gym. Every action you took was intentional. Every record you tried to erase only proves it. You chose cruelty. You chose silence. And today, you face consequences you cannot spin or hide from. Evelyn's lips parted, but no words formed. She knew that the careful architecture she had built, covering for her son, pressuring teachers, controlling records, was unraveling in front of every witness she had once relied on. The first consequence was immediate. Principal Harris, his tone finally authoritative, addressed the assembly. Mason Keegan has been expelled from Riverside High effective immediately. All students involved in the harassment have been suspended and will participate in mandatory restorative programs, including community service at local hospitals and youth programs supporting children with medical challenges. Gasps erupted. Whispers ran like wildfire. Mason's mother paled, clutching her son's arm. But Marcus's gaze never wavered. His daughter's dignity, hard-won through months of suffering, now demanded recognition. Zara's breath was steady. 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out, 4 counts hold. Each inhale and exhale was a testament to control regained. Her chest lifted, her spine straightened, and the fear that had once caged her seemed to evaporate under the weight of justice unfolding. Evelyn, finally realizing her plans had failed, leaned back, eyes darting to the veterans and the parents now discussing, murmuring, questioning. Her authority, once absolute, was crumbling in real time. Mason slumped. The reality hit him like a physical blow. Not only had his actions been exposed, but the consequences would ripple through his life. College recommendations, sports prospects, and social standing, everything he had counted on, was gone. The weight of his actions, and the faces of the children he had hurt, pressed into him with relentless clarity. One of Mason's former friends whispered, "I didn't know it would go this far." Miss Santos stepped forward again. "Ignorance is not a shield. You all have witnessed what choices and inaction can do. You are accountable. You are responsible." Marcus moved from his place at the back to stand beside his daughter, his presence commanding but non-threatening. Zara has shown courage in ways that most adults never experience. You will see her strength, and you will see what happens when truth meets preparation and patience. Zara took the microphone. Her hands shook briefly, gripping it with the steady rhythm she had practiced. The gym fell silent. Every eye was on her. "Last week," she began, voice clear, unwavering, "someone tried to take my breath away. They thought my illness made me weak. They thought I couldn't stand up for myself. They were wrong." She paused, letting the words sink. She raised her cannula slightly, letting the sunlight catch it. "Every day I fight cancer. Every day I fight to breathe. And every day I learn what courage really is. It isn't hiding. It isn't silence. It is standing even when your world tells you to fall. Today, that courage is not just mine. It belongs to everyone who has been silenced, humiliated, or ignored." A standing ovation erupted. Students who had once whispered and laughed now clapped and cheered. Teachers wiped tears, parents nodded, and Marcus felt a swelling pride he hadn't allowed himself to feel in months. Evelyn finally spoke, voice soft, barely audible over the applause. "I didn't understand." Marcus met her gaze. Understanding comes with seeing truth and accepting it. You had choices. You failed. But learning from failure is still possible. Tears welled in Mason's eyes. I didn't know, he admitted, voice shaking. I didn't realize. Zara's eyes softened just slightly. You hurt people who couldn't fight back. But you can still choose who you become now. Learn from this. Don't let it define you entirely. It was a moment of reckoning. Public, undeniable, and morally instructive. Consequences were meted out, but there was a thread of redemption available, a chance for Mason to reflect and grow, just as the law and the restorative programs demanded. Outside, the veterans quietly dispersed, each one a silent guardian who had ensured the truth was not buried. Their eyes met Marcus's in a shared acknowledgement. The system could be slow, corrupt, or indifferent, but prepared courage and relentless documentation could still change outcomes. Zara returned home that evening, shoulders straight, heart lighter than it had been in months. She and DJ carried the evidence and their experiences like a banner of survival through the halls of her home. Janelle prepared her dinner, quiet and proud, while Marcus finally allowed a small, weary smile. This, he said softly, is the power of persistence. Courage doesn't just inspire, it demands accountability. Zara touched her cannula. I still have to breathe, she whispered. But now it feels easier. The story had been won, but its lesson would echo. Silence in the face of cruelty empowers the oppressor. Courage, even when small, even when fragile, can rewrite outcomes. For the school, the consequences rippled. Policies rewritten, zero-tolerance rules for harassment, restorative programs implemented. Parents spoke differently in the hallways. Students stepped aside for each other, watching, recording, and respecting boundaries. And above all, Zara had reclaimed her dignity, her breath, and her place in her community. Marcus watched her from the doorway, hands folded behind his back. Never forget, he said quietly, your courage is contagious. Keep it alive. Zara nodded, for counts in, for counts hold, for counts out, for counts hold. She smiled for the first time without fear shadowing it. The battle against cruelty, corruption, and silence isn't over when the school bell rings. Courage requires action. Integrity demands observation. And dignity, true dignity, requires standing for what is right, even when it is uncomfortable. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who needs to see the power of standing tall. Subscribe for more stories that challenge the impossible and comment below. When have you stood up for someone who couldn't fight for themselves? Your courage matters.